Zapinette in Mexico. Caramba! From the inkwell of Albert Russo. Chapter 1. Where do you think my uncle suggested to spend our next summer vacation? Guess. Okay, I'll give you a clue. Since our trip to Andalusia, and for you Mnemonerds, I'm sure Shaken Pears didn't know what mnemonics meant. Just remember, Anne has to go to the loo so bad that she whistles like Swishy the snake. It's Unky Berkey who taught me these tricks. For your memory not to go haywire, especially with far and outstretched names, you have to use word associations. So in order to remember that goddess-forlorn Russian town in Siberia called Vladivostok, I made up a phrase, bloody bastard. And lo and behold, I have never forgotten that place. Yeah, my uncle got enamored with southern Spain, and particularly with the fact that he could speak Spanish. Never mind that with his native Italian he was mixing both languages, like it was a paella served with very boozy sangria, 65% alcohol. Yet everybody understood his monkey-do, monkey-say gibberish. In Paris, he sometimes gave Italian private lessons to students and to businessmen, beside his job at the post office. He couldn't do that anymore, because people would tell him that he speaks like a Spanish cow. Yeah, in France, when one is bad at languages, they say, il parle comme une vache espagnole. They really have fantabulous expressions, them frogs. Hey, don't forget that I'm French and also American, plus 10 forks and ding dong. Just read my other books and you'll realize what a genetic hodgepodge my ancestors and stresses have bequeathed us. But that's a totally different chapter, which you could one day explore and study in the brand new course spelled Zapigen 101, for which you could earn up to 7 credits. Oh, so my asides make you fidgety again. Hey, well, the Israelis, bless them, retort, save la nut. No, not save them nuts, but save la nut, i.e. patience already, if you don't want to be shoved into the moors of Ignoramaland, which is a terrible version of Disney World, on account that an orange halo with donkey's ears hovers permanently above your head, and you carry it wherever you trot, bleary-eyed and humiliated. For some strange reason, my uncle didn't find a low-cost flight from Paris to Mexico, but he nevertheless, that word is much too long, nay less is what I'll say from now on. Hey, it's my trademark, okay? Managed to book one with a stopover in Maitre, so's to pay less money, stingy goon that he is. I looked forward to discovering the nifty boutiques of that Spanish airport, but of course I didn't want to show it to Unky Berkey, and I kept pouting all the way. About 3/4 of an hour after we landed in Maitre, that's how you pronounce the name of that capital, we were told that the friggin' air control personnel were starting a strike and that our connecting flight to Mexico would be delayed for goddess knows how long. When Bonka translated that announcement to me, I was handling one of them megalong Toblerone chocolate bars with nuts and honey. My stomach suddenly gave an awful rumble, and I knocked it so hard on his head that it broke in two. Unfortunately, the cashier saw the incident and beckoned us, oogling like a witch, on account that she didn't want us to leave the store without paying for it. I followed Bonka with my fiercest felonist look. Hey, in those cases my face morphs like that of a tigress who hasn't had anything to eat for 2 weeks. and pinched his left buttock. The witch thought he was some kind of freak, 'cause as he was giving her the money, he was ouching and oohing, trying to smile at the same time. That's called facial acrobatics, and I can tell you it ain't an easy exercise in such circumstances. Of course I didn't speak to my uncle for the 3 hours we had to wait. Yeah, I can be so-headed, even when he offers to buy me stuff. Even though I like shopping, how many times can you visit the same store? I kept woofing, growling, and snorting, which puts him ill at ease. Serves him right. He should have booked us a direct flight to Mexico. Suddenly, the loudspeaker crackled something awful. We could finally board our Aeromexico plane. By the way, you must say Mexico if you don't want to pass for a friggin' gringo. I hear that the Mexicans consider us Americans like frenemies. I hate you. Yeah, I hate you not. Come, give us your greenbacks and scram back to your imperialistic country. In this case, I speak French in front of them on account that they don't mind the frog talk. You see how convenient it is to have a dual nationality. I've described our plane trips many times already and will skip this one. After a 9-hour boring journey, we landed in Mexico City. The balagan, din, hubbub in Hebrew, that awaited us at the airport gave me a terrific headache, on top of the pain and the tushy I got from sitting for all these hours in the plane. People were shoving and pushing, mostly the locals trying to get as fast as they could to passport control and customs. Obviously, queuing here was for the birds, and the birds, us, the law-abiding folk, were howling in English and other languages and gesticulating. But the Mexicano travelers pretended they didn't understand and left the rest of us dumb and founded, except that I was seething and whispered some of the swear words I had learned during our vacation on the Costa del Sol. In Spain, nerds, cabrón, tonto, del culo, gilipollas, and other worse expressions you don't need to know. My uncle was the only one who could hear me, but he thought my voice was replayed by loudspeakers and he started to tremble like a leaf a storm was going to tear off of a branch, and he became red as a pepper. You should see how he performs. First of all, he presses his thighs together like he was going to pee in his pants. Then he lisps as if suddenly all his teeth have fallen off. Zoopy. That's supposed to be Zoopy, another stupid nickname he utters in case of emergency. Shh, please. I read that Mexicans can be very violent. I kicked him hard in the shins and whispered, "Behave, Bonka. They can't hear me, man." So they, the Brits. Your ears need to be recycled. Instead of being deaf, they hear voices like Bernadette Soubirous, who apparently saw the Virgin Mary in Lourdes and spoke to her. Go tell that to the mountain, 'cause I speak to Goddess and the angels of Fellonism every night before schlup. And I don't go bragging to all and sundry that I hold regular conversations with the upstairs folk. If you remember what happened to us in the Holy Land, that's mainly in Israel and a little bit in Palestine. The Holy Spirit hailed me during a sandstorm, and I suddenly became Saint Zapinette of Nazareth. Holy cow. For a minute or two, I almost believed it. This, for those of you who ain't as sick as most psychiatrists, this is known as Jerusalem Syndrome. That's when your soul starts hovering above your body and you feel holier than thou. The consequence being that all your sins get drowned pronto presto into the sea of Kugeli. When these poor bozos and bozesses fly back home, they act like they have caught old-timers' disease and confuse their mothers with the Virgin Mary, also believing that they are the sons and the daughters of every woman 20 years older than they. Holy mackerel, Jesus of the Sacred Heart, Moses of the 10 Commandments, and Allah, the 1.5 billion Muslims. What kind of holy shenanigans are you playing, driving so many people bonkers from where you are? By the way, I prefer poached salmon to mackerel. Sometimes I do listen to my uncle's pleas, and I force myself to shut the fuck up, not with or without standing the fact that we would lose a lot of time, because I didn't like the look of those Mexicanos mumbling goddess knows what in our direction. Nice bienvenido welcome, I must admit. When our turn came to meet the security and customs guys, we both stood still and breathless like two bloomin' guards that keep vigil in front of Buckingham Palace. The first bozo seemed to hide a gun nozzle in his left eye. He was a squinter, Washmore, and I couldn't tell which eye was aiming at me on account that the right one was rolling madly like that of a chameleon. Anyway, one of his eyes was swinging from my passport photo to my face, then back to the photo, and he repeated that shenanigan at least 5 times, like I had forged my ID. With Unky Berkey it was even worse. After the 6th over, that 6 times the once-over nerd, he said to my uncle, "Who is this?" "Perdón, muy señor mío. That's yo, all right." Wow, my uncle impresses me at times. He's so polite, and in a Spanish, Washmore. No, you know him. This is it, I said to myself, and started performing. I began to cry, softly at first, then I got louder, and after maybe 10 seconds, I was howling above my head and up to the ceiling, which reverberated my voice like in a concert hall, hiccuping and sniffling, and maybe spitting too. I can't vouch for that, I was so shook up. "This is my uncle, mi tío. This is him," I sputtered. In a jiffy, 3 policemen, one of them resembled a bull, he had such huge nostrils and was so fat, hurried towards us, thinking maybe someone got murdered on account that in this here country they shoot people like they were rabbits. Seeing in what state I was, now pointing a very menacing finger at the security guy, they let us pass with apologies. "Disculpen las molestias, señor y linda señorita. We welcome you in our beautiful country and wish you a very pleasant vacation." Yeah, he can say that again, and he ought to be a little more generous with his apologies, like driving us personally to our hotel. We wasted so much time already. Jeanette Almighty. When we arrived at our hotel in D.F., meaning Distrito Federal, that's how they call the capital here, like we say D.C. for Washington, the city nerd, not the state, we were mind-boggled on account that 2 months earlier they had a big earthquake here with hundreds of people who died and many more who were injured, and that around the hotel some buildings had collapsed with cracks in the street, so that we had to hopscotch not to get one foot stuck in some of the deeper ones. I'm sure my uncle knew about it, and that he didn't want to tell me, the goon, because I would have refused to come to a place like this. He said that the travel agent wouldn't reimburse us if we canceled the trip. What an excuse! The visitors were oohing and awing and puffing. There was even a lady with a triple chin and a babaloo of a tummy who was so flabby-ghosted that she let out a huge fart. that ended with a prolonged patter, like an old plane of WW1 about to crash. We were all too shocked by the sight that no one felt like laughing. When Unky Berkey and I got to our room, which was okay for a low-cost hotel, I asked him if he knew whether we would have the pleasure of being rocked by other cute little earthquakes. He knows when I start being sarcastic, he has to be extra careful as to what he will say next. Zappy, he called me like I was born Spanish. He doesn't do this on purpose and speaks as if he has suddenly turned into a monkey parrot of the Latino type. That's called compulsive copycatism. I don't want to scare you, but you may now rest assured, for I have consulted several institutions specialized in the study of seismic occurrences, and apparently we will have a quiet vacation, so please don't worry. I wanted to bash his head and twist his arm, and something else little girls are not supposed to do. Then I told myself to stop panicking and to give him the benefit of the doubt, especially since my uncle is a doubter par excellence.